I'm sorry I haven't been posting. I've been really busy with schoolwork, and on top of that, I just really didn't have that many ideas of what to film. But today, I'm going to be reviewing Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. Now, I'd be really surprised if you haven't heard of this book or even Rupi Kaur herself. So, just to give you a little synopsis, this is just a poem book, and I think this is the first one that she released. Typically it sold for $15 as it says on the barcode, and yeah, it's just like your basic poem book. But this, I haven't really read that many poem books or poetry books, whatever you want to call it. But this one is kind of separated into chapters, which is kind of interesting, and like each chapter is supposed to represent like a different mood almost. So the first chapter is the hurting, the loving, and you can just read it there. And I got this, I think, December or January, and since then I've been reading a couple of poems, and I read them how they are in the chapter, so I didn't bother to hop around or anything, which I think with this book that's what you're supposed to do. But yeah, a lot of people, especially on my Instagram, and I've seen this all over YouTube and Twitter, but so many people have this and they were saying how amazing it was, so I decided that I wanted to give it a try because I do like poetry and I've never like owned a whole poetry book like this. Personally, I think that it is kind of overrated, but let me just explain myself. So, this book is a lot about, like, depression and love and, like, issues with relationships, and I just don't really experience that. So, even though a lot of these poems are really good, and, like, I could definitely see how they could speak to some people if they were going through that, but I don't know, it's not like your typical, like, rhyming poetry, or I don't know. It's just, I don't want to say that they're bad poems because they're not. They are good, and they definitely, like, they make you understand where she was coming from and what state of mind she was in when she was writing it. But because, like, I can't really relate to it, I just don't find it as good as what other people might find it as. I would definitely recommend you read it, but I think it's definitely a book that you should take your time reading and don't just read through it in like an hour or so, even though you can because it's poetry, so it's pretty short. But I feel like each poem might speak differently to people, so one person might perceive it as one thing, and I don't know, it's just, I like the style of it. I think it's really cool and like modern, and I don't know, from the poetry that I read before reading this book, I've never seen anything else like it. But I am reading The Sun and Her Flowers, which I definitely think I can relate more to because, again, like, this one's very much about like depression and being sad, going through relationships, and I just haven't experienced that, so I can't really relate to anything. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's overrated, but I definitely think it's overly hyped because I saw on Barnes & Noble that a lot of people were saying that it's not really even poetry because, like, it's more like spoken word, and I can understand that, but, like, at the same time, it's like, is it called free poetry? I don't know. I forget. But I wouldn't say that you shouldn't read this and it's not worth the money. I think it is worth the money, and as long as you might have experienced some things like she has, I think that you could definitely get something out of this book. But I would definitely recommend getting The Sun and Her Flowers before this one because I feel like this one is definitely more specific. So far, The Sun and Her Flowers is very much like a more broad kind of thing, if you know what I mean. This one is very specific to certain people, and if you wanted to read the back, it basically is the synopsis of this book, which I just thought that it would be a majority of this, and then plus like things that I could relate to and things that I would like. Not saying that I didn't like this book. I did like reading it. I didn't think it was a complete waste of time, and it was a nice read. especially after like the shower and you're ready for bed. Like, it was just a really calming book to read. So let me know down below what you think of Rupi Kaur, if you've read this book or if you read The Sun and Her Flowers. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope no one took offense to this, but again, I do recommend you at least give this a try. You might not love it, but I think it's definitely worth the read. So yeah, bye guys!